how are we different than a bank? So banks are gigantic. They do a ton of stuff. They do investment banking, buying and selling gigantic companies, huge things to do with office buildings. They basically make the economy to a certain degree. A big aspect of what banks do for you is that they manage your checking and savings accounts. They're called deposit-taking institutions. So they're taking your money and giving you nothing back for it, and then lending it back to you at a much higher interest rate that you're paying in the form of a mortgage. So it's generally the main function of a bank from the client perspective. So we don't do that. We're not a deposit-taking institution. We're not asking you to deposit your paychecks from work so that we can lend it back to you. We have some ideas in the future of how we can make that process much, much better. But what we're really focused on is making sure that you achieve your goals, making sure that your lifestyle can be maintained or improved forever, all through retirement, even when you're not working. This is a luxury that until now, the vast majority of Canadians were never able to enjoy. So we've been able to make these plans for people for free now. We can work on all aspects of making that come true in a way that the banks absolutely will not do. Because the banks are so focused on credit cards and on high interest debts, they're not going to give you the right advice on when to refinance a mortgage and when to get your 20% interest rates down to 2%. They're not going to talk to you about how to protect yourself against sicknesses and disabilities because they're actually not legally allowed to talk about protection like that in a bank branch. And that's a whole other story as to why that is the case. So it's a pretty fragmented system when it comes to banks. This is something where you can come to Planswell, make a plan that no one else can make for you, and actually implement the entire plan in minutes instead of weeks and months. So I think the only other real big thing to say is that the banks are absolutely cared about their profits and focused on their profits and making as much off of you as possible without you noticing. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars they're making off of you. We are absolutely focused on doing what's in your best interests. Because we're doing it so publicly, because we've created a system that anyone can see what our recommendations are, instead of just doing it in a corner office or at a kitchen table, we have to be held accountable to doing what's in your best interests. So I think the big difference is that you can trust us.